Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Neubert here from GoldandBlack.com. Perhaps you remember me. We're starting a new little regular content item today because we're so creative and we're so original. We're just calling it for the time being the GoldandBlack.com Purdue Basketball Daily, where I'm going to jump on here theoretically every day. We'll see how it goes for 5 minutes. We'll also see how that goes if you're aware of my track record. And I'm just going to talk about something Purdue basketball or college basketball related. Just want to make sure that you guys also understand we have a website at GoldandBlack.com that we would highly encourage you to subscribe to if you have not already. I am a better writer than I am a speaker, but my Ken Palm profile tells me that I am a more efficient speaker, so that's why we're doing this. If I'm in an airport, if I'm in a Uber, whatever it might be, and I just need to do something quick, this is a lot easier than sitting down to write for an hour. So here we go. Again, we're going to try to do this every day. We're going to try to keep this to just a few minutes. Whether either of those things happen, you're just going to have to tune in every day and find out. So I was going to talk about an obvious topic right away in terms of like who Purdue's going to start, what their starting lineup's going to look like. We'll save that for tomorrow because the AP poll just dropped. Seems like a very convenient topic. Seems like somebody's sending me a message about what I really should be talking about today. So AP poll comes out. We got Kansas number 1, Duke number 2, Purdue number 3, Michigan State number 4, Marquette, UConn, Houston, Creighton, Tennessee, FAU, Gonzaga, Arizona, Miami, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Kentucky. I think that's San Diego State, right? Yeah. San Diego State, Texas, North Carolina, Baylor, USC, Villanova, St. Mary's College, Alabama, Illinois. Purdue's right about where I figured they'd be. One thing you have to understand with these preseason polls is the funhouse mirror of the NCAA tournament is always going to shape them more than, more pertinent short-term realities are going to. I figured Purdue would take a bit of a hit because the last time everybody saw Purdue was not Purdue's finest hour, as you're well aware. Perhaps you've heard Purdue did not do well in the NCAA tournament last year. Michigan State did, and so Michigan State, which lost 15 games last year, and did not even challenge for the Big Ten title at the end of the year last year, that Purdue won by 3 games. They're 4th nationally, and a few writers voted them ahead of Purdue in the preseason Big Ten poll, not just the national poll. But that is solely a function of the fact that Michigan State won a couple of NCAA tournament games. I'm not belittling that. One of those wins was Marquette, who's 5th in the preseason now, who was an awesome team last year. But that's just kind of the nature of the beast here. If anybody genuinely, honest to God, believes, if I put you on a lie detector test and ask you, do you think Florida Atlantic is the 10th best team in college basketball after they won 35 games, only 2 of which were impressive last year? I think that would illustrate how this works. FAU went to the Final Four last year. To their credit, they beat Memphis. They did what Purdue could not do in beating Fairleigh Dickinson. Purdue should have beat Fairleigh Dickinson. They did not. That gave FAU some low-hanging fruit there to get to the Sweet 16. They get hot. They beat Tennessee, and I think they beat Kansas State was the other team. I might be mistaken about that. But now they bring everybody back, which is a feat unto itself in the transfer and NIL era. But come on now. You have a great year last year, beating up on Western Kentucky and Troy and whatnot, and then you win 2 games that mattered in the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden you're the 10th best team in college basketball ahead of Arizona and Gonzaga. That's just the funhouse mirror that is the NCAA tournament. But back to Purdue. I think, Purdue is where about they should be. Kansas and Duke, I don't know if I'd really necessarily dispute their places ahead of Purdue. They're always going to have the best players in the country. Kansas is loaded. Even after losing Arterio Morris, they're loaded. Duke has a bunch of guys back who maybe weren't as good as freshmen as, they will be now as sophomores, and Kyle Filipowski, Tyrese Proctor, who I think is going to be awesome, on top of the normal oodles of talent Duke brings in every year. Uh, that being said, Duke showed last year you don't necessarily start the season strong when you're young, but I think this year will be different for them. Not that it matters what I think about Duke. Um, you know, Purdue being number 3 in the preseason, I think is about right. And I think that, 2 years in a row now, Purdue has wound up number 1 in December, January, whatever it might have been. And I think that's very possible this year. I also think that, Purdue has a schedule where, assuming an undefeated non-conference season for the third straight year, yeah, I don't know, man. You got Kansas and Maui, you got Arizona, you got Gonzaga in, I guess I should call it Honolulu. Purdue's schedule is as hard a non-conference schedule as I've ever seen. So I would not anticipate an unbeaten non-conference season. Thus I would not anticipate that number 1 ranking again this winter. But I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Purdue has a sort of caliber of team that can do that sort of thing. I think, and you're talking about the guy who knows, Purdue better than anybody here among people who are voting in these polls. I think Purdue has real ability to be better than they were last year. I don't think your average AP voter probably is taking into account the jumps that Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer should take as sophomores. I don't think you're taking into account the jump that Trey Kaufman-Renn should take as a sophomore. I don't think they're even aware of what, Purdue might have in Lance Jones, who might be the perfect recruit at the perfect time for Purdue in terms of how he fits into some things that Purdue very much needs in terms of backcourt depth, in terms of another ball handler, in terms of a guy who can make a spot up 3. By reputation, we'll see how he shoots when actually get the games. But I don't anticipate that being an issue. Plus, a guy who really guard you, a guy who can guard a couple different positions that could balance out some of the areas where Purdue maybe isn't necessarily as good as it would like to be. I just think Lance Jones has an ability to, maybe be that perfect guy at the perfect time. Purdue went in the portal last year to get help right away in its backcourt and got a player who helped them, who was a valuable addition, but he was not what they needed. And, all due respect to David Jenkins, he was not the point guard ball handler that Purdue needed. That being said, he was a really valuable addition for a team that went on to be really good. Now I think Purdue got exactly what it needed off the transfer market in Lance Jones. I doubt your average AP voter even realizes that. I doubt your average AP voter even realizes that, hey, Purdue is way more athletic now because of some of these guys they're bringing in who are young, and that inexperience cuts into your aggregate experience, and that's part of the reason why Purdue's expected to be so good. But your average AP voter isn't taking into account Brian Waddell being completely healthy and looking really good all summer, Miles Colvin being a potentially elite player one day in his career, Camden Heide being really good. I doubt that's being taken into consideration here. So what I'm saying is Purdue is number 3 in the preseason, but I think they have as much threshold among these teams as anybody to be even better than people think they're going to be, which is a mouthful when they won 29 games last year. Won the Big Ten by 3 games, won the Big Ten tournament, had the National Player of the Year, all that kind of stuff. Purdue still has a ceiling here. They still have margins for improvement, and I think that those margins are not necessarily as narrow as you would think they would be for a team that did what Purdue did last season. We all know Purdue's season is going to be judged by what happens in March or, in Purdue's best case scenario, April. But that's a March issue. That's not a November issue. And I think had Purdue won a couple of NCAA tournament games, you might be looking at them sitting there at number 1. But they're number 3, and that's about where they belong. We will see where they end up. Long season ahead. Should be a very interesting one, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this little video here, is because we want to do it big this year here in terms of our coverage. So by all means, if you've not already, check out GoldandBlack.com and please consider subscribing. I don't think you would be disappointed. You'd be disappointed in me. I don't think you'd be disappointed in the overall product. So that's what I got. Thank you for watching this very first edition, this maiden voyage of the GoldandBlack.com Purdue Basketball Daily. We'll be back theoretically tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. with one of these things. We'll put an asterisk next to that. We'll see how it goes. So, hey, I said 5 minutes, and we got to 10:06 here, so only went twice as long as I should have. So, thanks so much, everybody, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.